Is Arknights Endfield a good sequel to the OG Arknights? Or should it even be one? You're about to see a short snippet of a 4-hour podcast of us discussing the current state of Endfield in 1.3. It's hosted by Hound, who brought on both me and Draknus because we read most everything in both games. So big thanks to them for both putting up with my bullshit. So here's the clip.
Do we think Arknights Endfield is a good sequel to Arknights? As its
Are we
current state?
talking purely story-wise?
Purely story-wise.
When it comes to quality of the story, I find it difficult to rag on Enfield in good faith because yes, 1.0 was fucking abysmal dog shit with Valley 4, but then 1.1 was a clear improvement from that, and then 1.2 was a clear improvement from that. So if it's continuously getting better, even if the story is not where I want it, I find it hard to rag on it. You know what I mean?
I would call 1.0 story like a solid 5 out of 10, maybe even lower. But it has gotten up to a 7 or an 8 for me at this point, at least with the main story. Even some of the character stories. I thought Mifu's story was pretty good. So yeah, if it keeps going up from there, I feel like they can reach that quality level. But in terms of sequel, specifically, to answer that question, man, that's hard. Obviously, we don't know where Arknights is going to end, like where that story is fully going to be going. Like we know where the current arc is going, but we don't know when it's going to divert to Endfield.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say whether I think it's a good sequel yet.
My issue with Enfield is obviously you guys have read Ramen, you've literally read everything, but my issue is the most amount of connection we had to Arknights was the trailers leading up to the release of the game. I feel like, and yes, there's in the writing and stuff, but for the average player, let's be real, the average player for Arknights doesn't even read the story. But
Yeah.
for the average player that goes through Arknights and they want to go, I want to play Enfield, you don't get a lot of that connection back to Arknights. Now you get some freebies, like here's your freebie Arknights reference and stuff like that. I'm referencing a character, but unless you go out of your way to read subtext and all the extra writing and stuff, the only real connection we've had to Arknights that feels substantial is the prologue to the game and the trailers, honestly.
Let me stream of consciousness this for a bit. Well, one, fuck, I forgot the first point already. I didn't even start. Okay. So, oh yeah, I remember. I didn't know this was a thing until I started making YouTube videos. But I didn't realize how few people read the story of every gacha game. I didn't realize there was such a sheer amount of story skippers. When this is the reason why I'm playing gacha games personally.
Yep, same.
But
there's a reason why I now run the Gacha Trials series that I stream now every week. Shameless plug. And I'm like, well, I've played a couple, and I have admittedly dropped a lot of them because I didn't care for the story. But if there's this many story skippers, maybe I should be giving these games an actual fair shake.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point.
All right, to the actual question though. I'm actually I think there is a fuck ton of Arknights references in Enfield, to the point where I didn't expect them to go this far with referencing the OG Arknights. But a lot of that is from the perspective of reading the files. There is a very clear dichotomy of what we came from and where we are now. And in that sense, actually, I'm not sure if I want Enfield to be a direct sequel from Arknights. I'd rather it maybe be a spin-off, because I want the themes of the OG Arknights to be self-contained into the OG Arknights. I want that conflict to be self-contained. Maybe the result of the OG Arknights can be a plot point for Enfield, but I want Enfield to kind of do its own thing. Just because if I wanted the OG Arknights to be in Enfield, I would just play more OG Arknights in a way. I don't know if you agree.
I actually did see that comment. Someone mentioned it feels more like a spin-off than a sequel. I think it almost would have been better for them to commercialize the game as a spin-off than commercializing it as a sequel.
Well, see, that's the thing though. That's exactly what they've been doing. They have commercialized it as a spin-off, not a sequel. If you go back and look at almost all their interviews and their marketing, yeah, they call it Arknights Endfield, but they were pretty clear that they do not intend, Light had an interview where he specifically said they do not intend this to be a sequel. They intend this to be a new starting point, a new launch point. They want new players. They do not want people to think they have to play the original game. They don't want this to be considered a sequel based on those interviews. And my argument back is I actually want it to be a sequel.
Oh, really?
And I feel like they are giving me what I want. for the most part. So it's like it's this weird thing where like it feels like they're trying
It could go
to
either way.
balance it. Yeah, and it could go either way at this point, but it feels like right now they're just trying to balance it and like have the option open for either.
I think they shouldn't do that.
I think at the end of the day, if it's well written and I like it, I don't. If it's what I don't want, then I don't care. I'll just take it because it's good. You know what I mean? But for me, when I think about it holistically, I'm like, wouldn't it be annoying if the main conflict in the OG Arknights was unfinished and then it just and it's just like Enfield's problem now?
I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think so either. That's like a very extreme example.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a resolution, and unfortunately, I can't say what that resolution I think is going to be because it would spoil Dead Hound.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to get a resolution to what we're dealing with in Arc 3. I just think that resolution is going to result in Endfield.
I agree.
How they've shown how Aether affects the world has felt like a 2-bit version of how Originium affected Terra. Like it probably affects it more like in the subtext and stuff like that. Like other than like new technology and a world-ending event and stuff, that's primarily the 2 big things they've shown us, I would say, visually, of what Aether does versus what Originium was shown to us in Arknights of how it causes. Like the whole world of Terra is literally the entire lore is built upon, to an extent, how we treat people that have Originium. Like the first 8 acts was all about the people that were shunned about having Originium or Oripathy and stuff like that. I haven't felt that in Enfield.
Yeah, but I think that's like low key to its credit because I want a difference in themes. I want a difference in like opposition.
Mhm.
Like Originium in a lot of ways is the antithesis to Aether and vice versa. So I'd want thematically in the story for that to be the same. I don't necessarily want I want the nuance of systemic discrimination and racial whatever to be in Enfield, of course, but to a normal degree rather than elevated like it is in the OG Arknights, because that is the theme that belongs to OG Arknights that will expand on it. I want new themes that has to do with the existential threat of this world-ending cataclysm where you have to hope core, everyone come together, Avengers Assemble portal scene. And deal with the Angloid threat that's coming to extinct humanity now that we're cut off from the Cosmic Gate.
Yeah. I would say like I'd like to see like a parallel level of degree
Yes.
to affect the world, and I haven't really felt that parallel level of degree that Aether affects us or the world versus how Originium affected the world.
Yeah. I think I get what you mean.
Next up, one more clip. Draknus shares his post-podcast thoughts after thinking on the question.
Hello. This is Draknus, and I have my own opinion on this subject, one that I didn't really go in depth on when I was in the podcast. Is Endfield a sequel? The marketing perspective says no. Everything stated by Hypergriff and their representatives says it's meant to be a spin-off that happens to be in the same universe while taking place in the future. The story perspective is still too immature to really be sure. It could be argued that there are plenty of hints and suggestions in the larger lore that connect it to the original Arknights, and technically go deeper than just simply Easter eggs and name drops. And from that standpoint, it could be argued that it is a sequel that has simply yet to fully reveal its hand. But there's one more perspective that I wish to bring forward, that we are looking at this all wrong. Arknights Endfield may not simply be a sequel, but instead part of the greater Arknights universe. Let me explain. Let me first discuss something about the original Arknights. Many players, including myself, love to look at Arknights as one massive storyline that is interconnected and interwoven through the world of Terra. However, this isn't a unique or new concept, and when you view each individual episode of the main story, each side story, intermezzi, and vignette, if you view them all not as a piece of a greater whole and instead as their own separate plot lines, which honestly is kind of exactly what they are, then you end up with what are essentially individual books sharing a singular world. These plotlines themselves often have their own sequels and continuations. And in this way, these plotlines are all part of their own series. Think of Aegir, Iberia, the Seaborn, and how all those events are interconnected and play off each other's context. Think of Kijerag's plot, all revolving around Silverash and his family and the politics of their nation. Rhine Lab and their ultimate climax of reaching the stars. Rhodes Island, the Doctor, and Amia with their goals in every story chapter. All of these can, and I'd argue should, be considered their own storylines that take place in one shared universe. Similar works would include Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere, Piers Anthony's Xanth, and Ruth Plumley's Thompson's Oz books, of which most people really only know about the first one, The Wizard of Oz, but it is a pretty expansive, continuing series that has since even been picked up by other authors. The vast majority of comic books follow this formula as well, with DC and Marvel being the biggest examples. Manga such as Tsubasa Chronicles, creating a shared universe of all of Clamp's previous works, and the late Akira Toriyama, who confirmed that Dragon Ball, Dr. Slump, and Jacko the Galactic Patrolman all take place in the same universe, despite basically never mattering outside of shared aesthetics and like giving him the freedom to write however he wanted. And perhaps the most popular among the audience of gacha games themselves would be the Fate-verse, better known as the Nasu-verse, named after the writer of the original Fate Stay Night, as well as Mihoyo's Hoyo-verse. Arknights, as a game, is like all of these, not in its presentation or the stories themselves, but in the very act of keeping themselves structured around the same overall characters, world, and rule set. This is what I call a shared universe anthology. Now, you may be asking, where are you going with this, Draknus? And to put it simply, if you view Arknights as an anthology taking place in the same world rather than a full set of interconnected storylines that must be enjoyed together, then it frees up a new idea for how Endfield fits into this puzzle. Not as a sequel or a non-canon spin-off, but as a piece of a larger whole in and of itself, a piece of this anthology that we call Arknights. It's in a separate package due to its form factor as a 3D action RPG with factory and strategy gameplay, but its story could very well be viewed as just another story added to this anthology that makes the universe what it is. Something to be enjoyed alongside the original rather than wholly separate or a part of it. Endfield is its own story arc, one that will have long-term payoffs and consequences, one that will loop back into the grander spectacle of the Arknights universe in time, just like how all of its older siblings before it did. That all of this is just an interconnected weave of stories in one grander anthology. Whether you want to enjoy them all or just a couple, it's still just up to you to decide, but my closing statement is really that Endfield isn't a sequel. It's just another piece of this anthology that already existed. And that's my take. Back to you, Ramen.
I don't have anything else to say.